Hello everyone, welcome to APTI Plus Academy for Civil Services. So we are going to start our UPSC Current Affairs session, 15 topics in 30 minutes weekly edition. So let's get started. So our first topic is CMS-3 satellite. Recently, ISRO launched the CMS satellite using its most powerful rocket named as the Launch Vehicle Mark III or the GSLV Mark III rocket, and this is the first time that India has placed a satellite which weighs over 4,000 kgs into a geosynchronous transfer orbit from the Indian soil. Eventually, this particular satellite will settle into the geostationary orbit, which is around 35,786 kilometers above Earth. The GSAT-7R or the CMS-3 satellite will basically provide multi-band telecommunication services across the Indian Ocean region and the Indian landmass. Okay, it strengthens the space-based communication, the maritime domain awareness, and secure links among the Navy ships, then the submarines, aircraft, and maritime operations centers. Please note that LVM-3, it is the most heaviest operational rocket for launching heavy communication satellites and deep space missions, and it has three-stage vehicles: the solid stage, the liquid stage, and the cryogenic stage. This is very significant because it's an indigenous development that marks India's growing self-reliance or Atmanirbharta in defense space communication. It is going to enhance the Navy's strategic capabilities and the blue water communication reach, of course, and it is going to further give a boost to our precision warfare. Especially we have seen what has happened with Pakistan. So the navigation satellites are definitely vital for missile accuracy and precision strikes. Moving to the next topic, Exercise Milan 2026. So India will host a historic maritime event this time in February 2026 at Visakhapatnam, because in this exercise a number of countries are going to participate, and this is under the Mahasagar vision of India. If we talk about the exercise Milan particularly, what is it? It is a biennial multilateral naval exercise. Please note, not biannual but biennial. This means that the exercise takes place once in every 2 years. Okay, had it been biannual, then twice a year, and biennial means once in 2 years. So this biennial multilateral naval exercise, it is of course hosted by the Indian Navy since 1995, and it aims at fostering naval diplomacy, interoperability, and regional maritime cooperation. If we talk about the nations that are involved in this particular exercise, of course it began with the 4 navies at Port Blair, but now it has grown into a premier global event. Okay, now more than 40 friendly countries and with their foreign navies, they participate in it, and this includes countries from the Indo-Pacific region, then the African countries, okay, Europe and Asian regions as well. So what is the aim of this exercise? Definitely to enhance maritime domain awareness, and we also need to fight the submarines in a war-like situation. So we need to develop those warfare capabilities. Okay, then we have to develop our air defense coordination between the friendly countries if some hostile country attacks us. So that kind of exercise it is. Okay, then search and rescue preparedness and reinforce a rules-based maritime order. So it is very significant in that context. Moving to the next topic, AI and computational thinking curriculum. So recently, the Ministry of Education has announced that it will introduce an AI and CT curriculum in all schools from class 3 onwards from 2026-2027. Okay, so we all know the importance of artificial intelligence nowadays. It has become an indispensable tool in today's world because it drives efficiency, it drives innovation, informed decision making, and it is omnipresent, right? It makes our lives easy and smarter, and definitely it helps all professions, starting from doctors to engineers to teachers, and in each and every field it has become like a very useful tool. And same goes for students. Okay, they can make use of it in a very good way. Teachers are using it, but you have to learn on how to use AI, and that is why this particular curriculum has been thought of. So let's understand this. Please note that this particular curriculum is a structured one, okay, on artificial intelligence and computational thinking, and it will be integrated into the formal school education system now from class 3 onwards across all boards and schools in India. Basically, the aim is to equip students with all the 21st century skills like logical reasoning, problem solving, data literacy, and responsible use of technology. Basically, it like tries to promote the AI for public good, okay, and foster innovation that is linked to social and ethical awareness. So definitely it will align with the National Education Policy 2020, okay, and implementation starts from 26-27. Of course, it would be a phased rollout across all the schools in India. So teachers also now need to prepare, okay, train themselves on using video based learning tools, etc., and this is integrated with the world around us, okay, which links AI learning to real world contexts. So very significant because it builds the early digital and ethical literacy among the students about AI. Moving to the next topic, Sardar Vallabhbhai Patel. So the Ministry of Culture organized a celebration of performances on Rashtriya Ekta Divas, which is celebrated on 31st October, and this year commemorates the 150th birth anniversary of Sardar Vallabhbhai Patel. So, if we talk about Sardar Vallabhbhai Patel, of course, his association with Gandhiji during the Kheda Satyagraha, that is 1918, it's very significant because it transformed him from a lawyer to a nationalist leader who advocated for farmers' rights and social justice at the point of time. Then he played a key role in freedom movement because he led the Bardoli Satyagraha of 1928. We all know about it, where his leadership, it earned him the title Sardar. Then he served as the president of the Indian National Congress, okay, during the 1931 Karachi session, and there he guided the party during the very tough times following Bhagat Singh's execution. And then he worked closely with leaders like Gandhiji, Nehru, Rajendra Prasad, of course, and as India's first deputy prime minister and home minister between 1947 and 50, he led the integration of 565 princely states into Indian Union, and this he did using diplomacy, then persuasion and firmness, right? And rightly he is called as the Iron Man of India, and he successfully handled complex accessions like the Hyderabad, okay, using Operation Polo in 1948. Then he integrated places like Junagadh, Travancore and Kashmir, of course, with India, and he established the All India services also, and that is why he is referred to as the steel frame of India, and to ensure administrative unity and integrity. So definitely we can say that his vision culminated in a number of milestones also. For example, the merger of Goa, then the Sikkim's accession in 1975, and finally the abrogation of Article 370 in 2019 to fulfill his dream of complete unity. And rightly, the Statue of Unity was inaugurated in 2018 at Kevadia, Gujarat, which stands as the world's tallest statue at 182 meters, and this symbolizes his enduring legacy. Moving to the next topic, Aini Air Base, which is in Tajikistan. So, India withdrew from the Aini Air Base in 2022, of course, after the lease agreement with Tajikistan was not renewed, and this was reportedly due to pressure from Russia and China. But here we need to know about the air base called Aini. Okay, so Aini Air Base is also referred to as Gisar Military Aerodrome, and it is a strategically located air base in Tajikistan. So in prelims they can ask a question on where is it located. So of course in Tajikistan, and India helped in developing this particular air base, and it operated jointly with the Tajikistan government since 2002 over here. It was India's first overseas military facility, and this gave India a strategic presence in Central Asia. Okay, and the base lies just west of Dushanbe, which is the capital of Tajikistan, and it is around 20 kilometers from Afghanistan's Wakhan corridor, very important to note. And this particular Wakhan corridor, it borders Pakistan occupied Kashmir and China. So this was originally built during the Soviet era. Then the base fell into disuse after the collapse of the USSR, and then India redeveloped it in 2001-2, and Key roles were played by Ajit Doval, then B.S. Dhanua, then the Border Roads Organization, and it was of course funded by the Ministry of External Affairs. India spent millions, okay, extending the runway to around 3,200 meters. It built hangars, then refueling facilities here, and maintenance units. So very important strategically, it provided India a military foothold in Central Asia, a region of high strategic interest. But now, of course, the lease has expired in 2021, and Tajikistan declined regarding the renewal under the Russian and Chinese influence. Okay, and India completed its withdrawal from this particular air base in 2022, and by around like in 2023 also, and Russian forces reportedly took over the operations at that base. So though the base is no longer Indian operated, but India continues to maintain diplomatic and security engagement in Central Asia. We all know about it, but here from prelims point of view, important is to know where is it located. Of course, in Tajikistan. Moving to the next topic, Model Youth Gram Sabha Initiative. So the Ministry of Panchayati Raj, in collaboration with the Ministry of Education and Ministry of Tribal Affairs, recently launched the Model Youth Gram Sabha Initiative. Okay, the initiative is basically aimed at providing students hands-on experience in how the grassroots democracy work, and this would be done by simulating the functioning of the real Gram Sabhas. So basically it tries to encourage civic awareness, then leadership and participatory governance among the youth. As mentioned earlier, jointly launched by the Ministry of Panchayati Raj, Ministry of Education and Ministry of Tribal Affairs. So these three ministries would be and this can be asked in prelims. It is supported by the Jawahar Navodaya Vidyalayas and the Eklavya Model Residential Schools that are for the tribal students. And the aim is, of course, to nurture the democratic leadership among the students, and this would be through experiential and activity-based learning. This also aligns with the national education policy and very significant in that context, and it will definitely foster responsible, participative and community oriented citizens. Initially it will be implemented across 1,000 plus schools in the entire country. So this was about the Model Youth Gram Sabha initiative. Moving to the next topic, Nauradehi Sanctuary to become third home for cheetahs. So, Madhya Pradesh government announced that Nauradehi Wildlife Sanctuary will become the third home for cheetahs in the state after Kuno National Park and Gandhi Sagar Sanctuary. So, in the first place, we need to know where is this particular sanctuary located. Of course, in Madhya Pradesh. Okay, and it is one of the India's largest sanctuaries because it is spread across about 1197 square kilometers. So it serves as a crucial wildlife corridor in the upper Vindhyan range of Madhya Pradesh, and a number of rivers flow through it like the Bamner, Kopra and the Biarma. Basically, this particular sanctuary is located between the Yamuna and the Narmada river basin. So you need to note that. If you talk about the fauna, it has mixed deciduous forests, Vindhyan sandstone formations and diverse soil types like the red soil, black soil and the alluvial soil. Okay, height, if we talk about the altitude, 400 to 600 meters above the sea level, and of course it gets a good amount of rainfall of around 1200 millimeters annually. As mentioned earlier, cheetah would be introduced in this particular sanctuary. Initially it was introduced in Kuno National Park and then Gandhi Sagar Sanctuary, and finally it would be introduced in Nauradehi. If we talk about cheetah particularly, Asiatic cheetah, it became extinct in India in 1952, and this was because of hunting and habitat loss. Then the government of India launched the project Cheetah and reintroduced African cheetahs from Namibia at Kuno National Park in 2022 and later at Gandhi Sagar Sanctuary. Okay, and now Nauradehi will serve as the third site. Okay, so that we expand the species. Okay, and genetic diversification would be ensured, and definitely ecosystem would be restored in central India. Moving to the next topic, cloud seeding in Delhi. So we all know the situation of pollution in Delhi, and this is for the first time in last 5 decades that the Delhi government in collaboration with the IIT Kanpur conducted a cloud seeding trial. But unfortunately, it did not work out because there was no moisture in the clouds, and the rainfall was not induced. But here we need to know about cloud seeding and its mechanism. So basically, cloud seeding is a weather modification technique, because here the aim is to induce rainfall artificially, okay, and this is done by dispersing certain chemicals into clouds that enhances the precipitation or the rainfall. And now it is being tested in Delhi. Okay, so the organizations that were involved, as mentioned earlier, was the Delhi government and IIT Kanpur, and the chemicals that were used are silver iodide, potassium iodide, and silver chloride. Very important to note from exam perspective. Okay, now how this entire process works, cloud seeding. So what happens is, firstly, meteorologists, they identify the suitable clouds. Okay, they first monitor the weather conditions using radar and satellite data to identify the clouds which have sufficient moisture content and depth, and they try to identify only those clouds that can sustain the process of artificial rain formation. Then a small aircraft, a drone, is employed, it is deployed, that carries seeding flares, okay, certain chemical agents like silver iodide, potassium iodide, or silver chloride. Okay, now once the aircraft it reaches the targeted altitude, the flares are ignited and they are released into the base or the interior of the clouds. Now each flare, it weighs around 2 to 2.5 kgs, and it contains the fine particles. These fine particles, they basically act as a condensation or ice nuclei, because we all know that it is the nuclei, okay, the particles that hold the moisture, and then what happens is they aggregate particles after particles, and that is what is cloud formation. And when there's huge amount of moisture in it, all clumped together, and because of the gravity the rain falls. That is the entire mechanism, right? So the released particles, they basically attract the surrounding water vapor, and in warm clouds the water droplets form and they grow around the salt particles. In cold clouds, the ice crystals, they form around the silver iodide, and these processes increase the droplet size as well as the density. Now as more and more droplets they collide and they merge, they become heavier and larger, as mentioned earlier, and then they accelerate their downfall just because of the gravity. And this entire process, this eventually results in precipitation, either in the form of rain or snow. It depends upon the temperature basically. And the induced rainfall, it helps in what? Settling the airborne pollutants such as the PM 2.5, very dangerous, PM 10, they are at very high levels given the amount of AQI. In Delhi, we all know about it. It crossed 400, okay, 500, 600, and that is why rainfall is very important, so that these particles settle down, and it definitely improves the air quality and visibility for the time being, temporarily. But in Delhi's case, of course, it didn't work out because the amount of moisture was not enough. Now it's a very good technique. It is used worldwide. Like we all know about, this particular technique was used in Dubai, which led to floods also. But this particular technique has a number of limitations. For example, it is dependent on weather, because whether the cloud has enough moisture or not, that is a case. Okay, also it is a very short term relief, because even if it is successful, it offers only temporary pollution reduction. And then there are certain environmental concerns also, because the residual silver iodide, it may pose certain toxicity risks to soil and water ecosystems, so we need to be cautious about its overuse as well. Moving to the next topic, Loktak Lake. So recently a study was conducted by the Nagaland University, which has warned that there could be severe ecological degradation in Manipur's Loktak Lake, and that is because of agricultural runoff, shifting cultivation, and other land use changes. Here we need to know about Loktak Lake. Basically, you need to remember that Loktak Lake is the largest freshwater lake in South Asia. It is a Ramsar site, okay, and it is known for the floating islands called Fumris, as you can see in this image. Okay, and it is home to the world's only floating national park, which is known as the Kebul Lamjau National Park. Right now, if you talk about this particular lake, it is a natural floodplain lake. Okay, and it is formed by the confluence of a number of rivers that you need to note down. Khuga, Nambul, Imphal, Thaubal, these are the rivers, and the sediments from these rivers and organic matter that is created from these rivers, they float and then produce a mass, okay, of vegetation, floating mass of vegetation that is referred to as fumries. Now these floating mats of vegetation and soil, they support human settlements and wildlife as well, because this particular lake is a biodiversity hotspot, as it supports around 428 animals and 132 plant species, which also includes the endangered Sangai deer or brow antlered deer, which is the state animal of Manipur as well. Okay, and every 15th October, Loktak Lake celebrates the lake's ecological and cultural significance. So very important from UPSC prelims perspective. Moving to the next topic, Indo-Tibetan Border Police or ITBP. So recently Prime Minister of India, he extended greetings to the ITBP on its 64th raising day. Here we all need to know about ITBP. Okay, it is a specialized Central Armed Police Force, that is what we need to remember, CAPF, and it comes under the Ministry of Home Affairs. Okay, the task of ITBP is to guard the India-China border and maintain internal security as well. It is popularly known as Himveers, okay, because of its service in the Himalayan frontiers, and it was raised on 24th October 1962 following the India-China war. This you need to remember, to strengthen border intelligence and security along the India-Tibetan frontier. Okay, and initially it was formed under the CRPF Act, but later on it gained independent status through the ITBPF Act 1992, and then the rules were framed in 1994. And of course the force, it began with 4 battalions, but now it has gradually expanded significantly, and in 2004 under the government's one border one force policy, ITBP was assigned the entire India-China border of 3,488 kilometers long, so replacing the Assam Rifles in Sikkim and Arunachal Pradesh. If we talk about the motto of ITBP, it is Shaurya Dridata Karma Nishtha, value, determination, devotion to duty, and it also has to ensure border security, maintain vigilance along the high altitude regions, and act as a first line of defense in the Himalayas. Okay, this is all you need to remember about ITBP. If we talk about the functions, of course, guarding the border, disaster relief also, it provides humanitarian aid during flash floods, earthquakes, etc. Training and specialization, internal security, especially it is deployed in the anti-Naxal operations also, and then it also conducts medical camps, etc. So civic and cultural engagement is also one of the key functions of ITBP. Moving to the next topic, UNESCO Creative Cities Network. So at the 43rd UNESCO General Conference in Uzbekistan, okay, Lucknow was declared a UNESCO Creative City of Gastronomy. Okay, it is because of its Awadhi cuisine, culinary heritage, and cultural diplomacy through food. So we all know that of course it was recognized for its culinary heritage and innovation. Okay, and with this, Lucknow becomes, of course, the second city in India after Hyderabad to receive this particular honor. Now, if we talk about UCCN or the UNESCO Creative Cities Network, it is a global platform of cities which basically uses creativity and cultural industries as key drivers for sustainable urban development. It was established in 2004 by the UNESCO, and the aim was to promote international cooperation among cities that are investing in culture and creativity as tools for inclusive growth. Now, if we talk about the aim, of course, it tries to integrate creativity in local development policies, and it supports the sustainable development goals also, especially goal number 11, which asks for sustainable cities and communities. And it brings together the various cities across the world from various fields, creative fields. What are the creative fields? These are gastronomy, literature, music, film, design, crafts and folk arts, and media arts. Okay, and it promotes the cultural exchange and knowledge sharing and capacity building among the member states. Very important to note which cities are recognized under the UNESCO Creative Cities Network. Okay, Indian cities. Jaipur, okay, for crafts and folk arts in 2015. Varanasi for music in 2015. Then Chennai joined in 2017 for its contribution to music. Then Mumbai in 2019 for film industry. Hyderabad in 2019 for gastronomy, and now Lucknow is the second one. Srinagar 2021 for crafts and folk arts. Kozhikode 2023 for literature. Gwalior 2023 for music, and finally Lucknow in 2025 for distinctive gastronomy. Moving to the next topic, the Raumari Dondua Wetland Complex. This was in news because the researchers and experts they are seeking a Ramsar site status for the Raumari Dondua Wetland Complex. This is in Assam's Laukhua Wildlife Sanctuary. Very important to note from prelims perspective. Okay, and why? Because it has recorded the higher bird diversity than existing Ramsar sites in northeast India. If we talk about this particular wetland complex, it is a floodplain marsh ecosystem, and it is located within the Laukhua Wildlife Sanctuary, and this particular wildlife sanctuary is a part of the Kaziranga Tiger Reserve in Nagawa district of Central Assam. Very important, and since it is situated in the heart of Assam, of course the wetlands are embedded within the Kaziranga Orang landscapes, and it is bordered by the Laukhua and the Burchapuri Wildlife Sanctuary. It is very important to note the Laukhua and the Burchapuri Wildlife Sanctuaries. Okay, both function as the buffer zones of the Kaziranga Tiger Reserve. And in 2025 bird census, it has been noted that more than 47,000 birds are present over here, and since it meets 8 out of 9 criterias of the Ramsar sites, so that is why the demand is there. And very important to note that it hosts all the like winter visitors from the Central Asia and the Siberia, so definitely it forms a part of the Central Asian flyway of migratory birds, and hence the experts are demanding for a Ramsar site status for this particular Raumari Dondua wetland complex. Moving to the next topic, Marine Fisheries Census 2025. So, India has launched this particular census, and this is India's first fully digital and geo-referenced fisheries census. It is of course powered by Vyas mobile application, which has been developed by the Indian Council of Agricultural Research. Now, if we particularly talk about the marine fisheries census of 2025, it is a digital census, okay, and the aim is to enumerate India's marine fisher population, then the infrastructure and the socio-economic conditions, so that like later on there could be evidence-based policy making, and there is sustainable fisheries governance. Now, if we talk about this particular census, then of course it will be the first fully digital process, completely like paperless, and it will be using GPS technology, okay, and there will be like socio-economic insights also, like the debt, the income, the insurance and the welfare schemes that covers the various schemes pertaining to this fisheries sector, okay, and drone based enumeration of fishing crafts would be done for accuracy and transparency. Particularly this app called the Vyas, or the Vessel and Yield Assessment System. It is basically a set of digital tool that would enable what? End-to-end data collection, validation and monitoring of the Marine Fisheries Census 2025. Definitely developed by the Indian Council of Agricultural Research as a part of its digital modernization. And there will be definitely real-time, error-free and transparent like collection of census this time. Very significant for that particular purpose. Now, if we talk about the features of this Vyas, so it will definitely, as mentioned earlier, it enables GPS tagged entries for precise mapping. Then it will support multiple languages so that there is inclusive participation, and there will be a process, and there will be a provision for tracking and the analytics for the administrators, and definitely data accuracy would be there. So definitely fully funded by the Department of Fisheries, Government of India, so centrally funded, and it will be implemented by home by the Indian Council of Agricultural Research, Central Marine Fisheries Research Institute, or CMFRI. Very important. The Fishery Survey of India will definitely provide a operational support to it. So right now we'll have a real-time evidence-based database that would be particularly on marine fisher households, the infrastructure, the socio-economic indicators, so that we can strengthen sustainable fisheries management and welfare delivery across the country. Moving to the next topic, Dogri language. So a study in Jammu has warned that there's been a sharp decline in the use of Dogri language, okay, and youth, they have zero proficiency in the language. So here we need to know about this particular language. It is an Indo-Aryan language which is spoken predominantly in the Jammu region, okay. It is one of the 22 scheduled languages, and it comes under the 8th schedule of the Indian Constitution. Official language of Jammu and Kashmir since 2020, very important to note. And if we talk about the origin of Dogri, it is a descendant of Sanskrit, okay. It evolved from Old Indo-Aryan, and then it developed into Middle Indo-Aryan and in its modern form, okay. And the word Dogra or Duggar, it appears as early as in Amir Khusro's Nuh Sifir, very important to note, and this was in 1317. During the rule of Maharaja Ranbir Singh in 1857, it was initially written in Dogra Akhar, and later it was replaced by the Devanagari script in the 20th century. In 2003, it was added to the 8th schedule, and then it was given the, of course, constitutional status. And right now it is declining because of policy neglect, urban detachment, and generational disconnect. So the study has warned that we need to work on it. The final topic, Kuala Lumpur Declaration. So recently the 20th East Asia Summit was held in Malaysia, Kuala Lumpur, and it adopted the Kuala Lumpur Declaration on Peace and Stability. The only question that can appear in prelims pertaining to this is, what is Kuala Lumpur Declaration related to, which was adopted in the 20th East Asia Summit? So, of course, peace and stability, this you need to remember. If we talk about the East Asia Summit, then it serves as a forum where the major powers of the ASEAN countries, of course, they discuss cooperation, they manage regional challenges, etc. Okay, and then of course it was established in 2005 in Kuala Lumpur only, in Malaysia. Then it evolved from the ASEAN Plus 3 process, which included countries like China, Japan, and South Korea. And finally, the first East Asia Summit took place in 2005. There are 18 member countries, okay, 10 ASEAN nations, which includes the Brunei, Cambodia, Indonesia, Laos, Malaysia, Myanmar, Philippines, Singapore, Thailand, and Vietnam. And then there are 8 dialogue partners, including India and China. And India is the founding member of the East Asia Summit. This you need to remember. In 2011, US and Russia joined, because in prelims they can ask like which are the countries, which are the founding members, which are the dialogue partners. These kind of questions appear in prelims. So this you need to remember. The main objective of East Asia Summit is to promote peace, stability, and economic prosperity in East Asia region. And there are a number of sectors, actually 16 sectors to be precise, like climate, energy, education, finance, health, natural disaster, connectivity, trade, food security, maritime cooperation, etc., including poverty alleviation, which is like the areas of cooperation among the East Asia like countries. Now, if we talk about this particular declaration on peace and stability, of course, the core commitments were reaffirmed this time, and challenges like economic uncertainty, great power rivalry, these things were discussed. South China Sea dispute, of course, the issue of peace and stability in the South China Sea region, where the multiple countries claim, but China like claims that the most of the portion of the South China Sea belongs to it. So these are the challenges that need to be like fixed. Okay, then the regional peace accord, of course, because a number of peace like initiatives have been signed in these years. So of course we need to focus on that. These were the things that were discussed in particularly this declaration, and then it was signed by the various members and like adopted, so that the centrality of the ASEAN pertaining to regional cooperation and peace and stability is reinforced. With this, we come to an end of this session. Thank you so much.